What if the Umayyads captured Constantinople? In our own timeline, Constantinople was the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire from its division with the West all the way to its very last days in 1453. After the fall of the West, the Eastern Romans would manage to conquer much of the Western Mediterranean under the leadership of Justinian the Great, but wouldn't be quite able to restore the empire to its former glory. In the 7th and 8th century, the empire would decline massively, losing Italy to the Lombards, Balkans to Slavs and Bulgars, but most importantly the Levant and North Africa to the Arab caliphates. The Arabs would attempt to take the capital of the Byzantines by force twice in 674 and 717, and both times they lost, largely thanks to the newly invented Greek fire, and the Bulgars helping the Byzantines out. The Arabs would stop attempting to take Constantinople and it would remain in Christian hands for about 7 centuries. But what if that didn't happen? What if Constantinople fell in 717? In this timeline, the Byzantine-Bulgarian Treaty of 716 is not signed and the Bulgars remain neutral at best, hostile at worst towards the Byzantines. When the Arabs begin their siege, the Bulgars join them in order for easy land grab. Eventually the city would fall and the Arabs take it. This wouldn't mean that the entire empire falls to the Arabs and Bulgars, and it is likely that in Anatolia, Greece, or Italy, Greek counter-governments might pop up like Trebizond or Nysa after the fall of the empire in 1204. The Bulgars likely expand into Thrace and Macedonia, possibly even taking Thessaloniki while also adjusting their border with the Umayyads. The Arabs would have quite a tough task with those Anatolian fiefdoms, as their cavalry struggled in mountainous areas, which is why Asturia held out against the Umayyads. Now, I don't say that there would be a Reconquista in the east, as powers that could help them like the Franks are too far away, and at best Europe would only concern itself with Constantinople while being willing to let Anatolia be Muslim. Over the decades, if not centuries, those Anatolian kingdoms, namely Cilicia, Thracia, Opsicia and Armenia, gradually lose land and their autonomy to the caliphate until they eventually manage to fully secure the area. In Italy, the Pope would be forced to enter into an alliance with the Lombards, which would be a precarious one at best, and would probably try to find a replacement as soon as possible. The only two Byzantine successors left would be in Attica and southern Italy. Just like in our own timeline, the Greeks probably get kicked out of Italy, probably even sooner, around the 9th or 10th century, but they managed to secure themselves in Greece and Albania, being the last Christian holdout in that region. The Umayyads would probably still find internal opposed from the Abbasids, who were generally opposed to the mistreatment of non-Arab Muslims, and if anything the Greeks in Anatolia would join the Abbasids. It is even possible that this swifter takeover could prevent the creation of the Emirate of Cordoba. From this you might assume that they spread fast into Europe like the Ottomans in our own timeline, but that is unlikely, as the Ottomans had their seat in Constantinople and the caliphates in Damascus, and later Baghdad, which is further away. Furthermore, there was no glory to be found in the Balkans at that time except maybe regarding Bulgaria, but it is in the interest of the caliphate to work together with Bulgaria. Also, unlike the Ottomans, the caliphate would probably convert the Greeks in Anatolia and East Thrace to their religion. Just like with Persia, the Greeks managed to retain their own identity instead of becoming Arabs, but still convert to Islam. This would begin a major rift between Balkan Greeks who are Christian and Anatolian Greeks who are Muslim, and those two groups would gradually see each other no longer as the same BJT, as different people. By 800, Charlemagne is still the master of Western Europe, but might now crown himself Roman Emperor, as that title was already gone. The title of Roman Emperor survived the fall of the West thanks to the East, and when the East fell in our own timeline, the Franks and later Germans already took that title, and so the emperor existed continuously up until 1806, or even a later date depending on who you ask. But here, it was long gone, and there might not be an incentive to become Roman Emperor. Charlemagne might either crown himself Frankish Emperor, or just stick with the title of King. Later on, Otto II would either simply be German/Saxon Emperor, or again stick with the title of King. Assuming the later one, Europe wouldn't have one emperor that stands above the rest, and would be instead more equal. It might also be possible for them to continue the title anyways, for example by recognizing southern Italy or Greece as the rightful successor of the Eastern Roman Empire, and as emperor, giving us our timeline again. Islam could also spread to Europe more diplomatically. Both the Bulgars and Kievan Rus largely converted to Orthodox Christianity thanks to the Byzantines, and with this alternate situation in Eastern Europe, with the Muslims in control of Anatolia and Constantinople, I believe both would convert to Islam. With that, most of Eastern Europe could become Muslim, with the only real exception being the Greek Empire. It might also be possible that the East-West schism might not occur, as the Greek Empire is too small and dependent on the Catholics to break with them. Nowadays, many in the West see Eastern Europe as a different continent because of its differences, but this would be even greater here as they don't even share a religion, and Hungary and Poland would also be considered Western European. Gradually, the Abbasid Caliphate would lose territories to new states, and one of those could be a Muslim Greek Sultanate. While the previous Arab caliphates were not all that interested in the Balkans, the Muslim Greeks would probably try to conquer Christian Greece, as they might be still seen as close, and thus there would be an incentive to convert them, and also this gives them control over the Aegean Sea and might also expand into the declining Bulgaria, specifically into Macedonia and Thrace. Just like in our own timeline, the Seljuks take over Persia, but I doubt that they would seek Anatolia. In our own timeline, they did this because of the prestige of the Eastern Roman Empire, which just doesn't exist here, and instead settle in Persia, which could alter its demographic makeout. Without a Battle of Manzikert, we likely also wouldn't have seen the Crusades into the Holy Lands. This could also prevent other crusades like in the Baltic, but I think they wouldn't eventually convert, but potentially with Islam as an option. Amongst those crusades were the Teutonic Order, and so, the old Prussians would survive and the area wouldn't become German, greatly influencing German history. The Mongol conquests probably still happen, and the Greeks could be conquered as well, leading to the Mongols possibly either taking all of Anatolia or even parts of the Balkan, maybe also expanding into Bulgaria, as the other two major Muslim states in Europe were also conquered. In Iran, it is possible that an Ottoman-like entity rises, but with its base in Iran, it would be less interested in Europe but more towards areas historical Persian Empire sought, namely the Middle East, Greece, Central Asia, and parts of India. This alternate empire would be more focused on expansion in the Islamic world, and would have little contact with Europe at large. Through Bulgaria, it is possible that Moldova and Wallachia might also be Muslim, making the entire Black Sea region Muslim, and Transylvania might also be Muslim, which might destabilize Hungary. Lastly, Serbia could also convert to Islam, making all the parts of Europe that became Orthodox in our own timeline Muslim. At this point, it is extremely difficult to continue this timeline, as so much has been changed and depends on variables, like for example if the Iberian Reconquista still succeeds, or what a Europe without an emperor means. In this timeline, the Byzantine Empire would cease to exist over 7 centuries earlier than in our own timeline, and this would lead to Eastern Europe, which is Orthodox Christian in our own timeline, to become Muslim, among which are the Greeks and Russians. If you liked the episode, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.